This is Red Moon Role-Playing.
Masks of Nyarlathotep. Where last we left our investigators, they had elected to split off in different directions, seeking out the mysteries that Jackson Elias had asked the reporter at the Scoop, one Mickey Mahoney, to look into during his last time in London. We had Felix Bauer investigating the artwork of Miles Shipley, a London-based artiste who has rather controversial subject matter on his canvas. Meanwhile, Madeleine Hopper decided that she would investigate a series of murders that have also been reported as occurring in London. But Shelby decided he was going to leave the Big Smoke and head north by 100 or so miles into rural Derbyshire to investigate the tale of a wild dog, or dog person, that had been mauling and murdering people up to a few months ago. Jackson Elias will be accompanying Shelby. Our other investigators are, for the time being, alone. But only briefly. Because Felix Bauer, you are currently in the attic of one Miles Shipley. You have just examined the paintworks that he has put together and been physically and spiritually stunned by what you have beheld. You don't understand everything that you have just witnessed, daubed on canvas, these grotesqueries, these alien vistas that have been rendered by the brush of Miles Shipley, but you have been struck by them. Somewhere deep down you know that there is something horribly wrong at play here. As yet, you've not encountered the artist himself. You've only been guided up to his attic by his mother, who claimed that Shipley was sleeping, while trying to wrestle your mind around what you have been, well, admiring might be too strong a word. Let's call it observing. A heavy pair of footfalls made their way up to the attic, and now the attic door has opened. A rather crude-looking gentleman has stood there, Felix. Crude because he looks unkempt. His hair is out in tufts, his glasses are dirty and thick. In fact, it doesn't look like he has washed in some time. He has sores around the edges of his mouth, and his clothes have most certainly seen better days as well. His hands are utterly lacquered in what you can only assume to be various degrees of paint. Different colours. His fingernails filthy. You can smell him from here. Do you like my work then? You hear a slow pair of footsteps approaching the attic as well. Must be his mother returning.
And I have, of course, seen all these disturbing artworks, and they've touched me on a very deep level, and not in a good way. But I came here for Mr. Shipley's art, and if this is now Mr. Shipley, then I have here an opportunity to speak to the man in question and perhaps learn where he's seen all these things. So I'll put on a brave smile in spite of everything, and I'll move up to shake the man's hand. I mean, he's strange looking and looks like a bit of a shut-in. I mean, but there are artists like this, plenty of painters in Berlin as well, I understand, who are unique in their way of living, but they produce interesting art. So perhaps this man is no different.
Make a con roll.
That is a 77 over 70.
You're able to hold your nose, and with it, your disgust approaching his, let's call it, ambience. Your face doesn't betray how wretched this man smells. As you put your hand out for him to shake, he looks down at your hand curiously, as if he's not really sure what you intend to do with it, and then twitches a little and slides his hand into yours. Yes.
My name is Felix Bauer, Mr. Shipley.
That's me. That is I. that is who I am. Are you getting on well there, both of you? You didn't hear her reach the top step, but here she is, his mother, Bertha.
Oh, yes.
Playing
yes.
nicely?
Of course, yes. Mr. Shipley is going to show me his art now, so thank you very much.
Oh, good. Well, do excuse me, she says, and she turns around and closes the door. She remains within, but she closes the door. Terrible drafts get up here, and Miles is very particular about keeping this attic sealed, she says, making a kind of circular gesture with her hands, as if the attic is almost a completely separate space from the rest of the house beneath it. So you do like my work, then?
It's very impactful. It really reaches out through the canvas and grabs a hold of you, huh?
He suddenly springs into action and paces over to one of them. Well, I sell each piece for £300 or thereabouts, depending on the budget of the individual who is interested. What is your background, Mr.
Bauer, Felix Bauer.
Yes, I told you that Crowley. Oh, yes, of course. Golden Dawn. Yes, right. Mr. Bauer, what kind of credit are we talking? Do you intend to also put these on display? Which one appeals to you the strongest? If you, as you say, if they reach out and grab you, I would like to hear your thoughts. Not just the money. It isn't just about the money, but he starts scratching the side of his face and picking at those sores. I would like to hear your thoughts.
Well, I have followed your work for some time now, and I was very impressed by what I saw at the Golden Dawn as well. Those of your works that are there.
My largest piece to date. Yes.
What I saw here as well. I think some of these definitely should be out there to be shown to more people, so that more people can enjoy your art. And I start moving to the canvases, and the one that perhaps spoke the most to me, and I tried to not stare too deeply at these paintings because they touched me in a very peculiar way previously, but there was one that stood out in particular given what we had experienced thus far, and that's the one that showed this, well, these tongues, some kind of gathering of people.
Gathering.
And I'll point that one out.
He looks at it, his eyes twitching over and never leaving the canvas. His mother steps forward as well. Yes, that is a very evocative one. Isn't it, Miles? It draws you in.
Really does.
Yes, it did. When it came to me, it was... Well, I'm very happy that you are so interested, especially in this one. I call it the Black Pharaoh. And you, Mr. Bauer, can you afford the £300, or are you merely browsing?
I will arrange the funds, of course. I was very interested to see the ones that you have available here, but
there's a shaky smile that appears on his face at that. Make a psychology roll.
That is a 09 under 13.
There's a shaky smile that appears on his face, and you gauge that it is relief. He is glad, very glad that you can afford this. Now, considering that other paintings that he is selling have been, one would assume, been sold between the sum of £75 and £300, Neither he nor the house that he lives in are kept in a terribly opulent state. But yeah, there is a break of relief that just crosses his face. Wonderful. Well, isn't that good, Mother? Yes. Splendid. The £300, splendid.
Now, what I would love to learn more, I mean, you know how it is, right? When it comes to art, the painting and what you have on the canvas, that's only one part of the artwork. It's also the artist and the inspiration for the art, the story of it. What was it that inspired you to draw something so utterly inspirational?
He looks at his mother, he looks back to you, he looks at his mother again, he looks back to you, and he says, "It really doesn't matter, does it? That's not the important thing, is it? That the important thing is that you just want the painting, you want to buy the painting, and I'm getting one of my headaches. No. Answer him, Miles. Answer the man. If he's prepared to pay that much money, he deserves to know. No, sir, Mr. Bauer, you don't need to know, do you?
I must confess that learning the background to this piece is, it's just as important as the piece itself.
But why? But would it matter? Would it... If I... And he starts tapping his temple. If I saw it in a dream, if I had been there, if a little fairy had climbed in through my window and planted it in my ear with golden whispers and it had poured out of my fingertips like paint, would it matter, really?
Of course it would. It would be part of the story. And whatever brought you this painting, whatever inspiration struck you, it is equally valid. We just want to know your story so that we can tell that to people.
Nobody needs to know my story. Miles, you're getting agitated. We should let the man ask. Dear. No, you don't need to. No. My son gets very agitated, as you can tell. The artist temperament, he's been like this ever since his poor father passed away. And she approaches you, Felix, to take your hand and pat it. Will you allow her?
I see no reason not to allow it. She seems to be a perfectly, kind old lady.
Speak your mind. Do you know something about this? Is there something... She scans you. She is looking you up and down, all over your face, every single expression that you might give away now. Is there something you know about these artworks? Maybe you might be able to help my son. Maybe you might be able to help me.
Is there anything that I can do to help? Of course.
No, Miles sits down and clutches the sides of his head with his fists. Don't worry about him. He's afraid. That's all.
Oh.
Why don't you tell us what it is you know about these paintings, Mr. Bauer?
The story has it that they are inspired not by things fairies bring in or dreams, but things seen in reality. And most people would say that that's crazy, that that's impossible. But I happen to think that things like that are actually possible, and I would like to know if that's the case. And I wouldn't call you crazy if you say that it is something that happened in reality. I would want to know more, because I would want to get to know it more. I want to get to know that world in more depth.
Have you already glimpsed these other realities, Mr. Bauer?
I have seen things that I cannot explain, yes. Many.
Where?
All across the world, from Peru to New York. It's everywhere, isn't it? It's all around us.
She's nodding. She's smiling. Miles is muttering, "No, no, 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 no," and hammering the sides of his skull. "Why did you say that? Why did you say that? Why could you not have just been an ignorant customer?" At which point, Bertha's skin sloughs off. Make a sanity roll.
Yeah, that's a 97 over 47. That's no good.
Rather than simply hit you with a sanity loss here, I'm going to allow you to rather describe how you respond, but it should, I will suggest, be in a way that is not helpful toward you. So here's what you see. Bertha's skin sloughs off. It's as if it was rotten all along, stretched thin over lumpy contusions and thick flesh, scales even, and it just splits, tears in pieces, and falls to the floor dryly. And what was Bertha stands more tall now, rippling with scales and lesions, its face long, its snout closer to that of a snake, or even, in fact, you would put it closer to a crocodile, the length of this face, as the jaw seems to furl upward from the throat and jut out to complete the face of this serpent person, who, if it were possible for a serpent to smile, because after all, serpents are always smiling, but this one is particularly happy. Maybe the jaw just opens a touch more. You think that this one would be. This is a monstrosity holding your hand in a scaled claw right now.
That's just my eyes that are fooling me again. You dropped this, I say, as I begin trying to pick up this skin that's fallen off. You're dropping it. You can't do that. You will hurt yourself. So I'm trying to put the skin back on Bertha. Of course, it needs to be. It belongs to her, right? This thing that I'm seeing, it's of course not real. She must have hurt herself somehow, and I can't have that. Then what's Miles going to do? He's not going to let me get the art, and he's not going to tell me where he saw these things. So that's what I try to do.
I am going to make a roll now, as the serpent person lunges at you. There's no kind of chance to dodge here. You are effectively paralyzed by your fear here and your action. You are basically putting yourself in the range of this thing's bite. The question is it going to bite hard enough to actually get through? And that's what I'm determining with my roll. I roll very well, I'm afraid to say. Incredibly so. I roll a 0.5. Which is extreme in this case. And so, the serpent person lunges forward at your arm as you are trying to trail this dried parchment-like skin over its epidermis. You're not sure whether the serpent person is amused, confused. That there's probably many alien thoughts going through its head right now. But as your arm reaches forward, it snaps its jaws around said arm.
And I should scream, "No!"
Can I ask you to make an extreme con roll, please?
That is a 56 under 70. That is not extreme.
I'm going to get you to make the roll here, Maciej. You can be hoisted by your own terrible rolls. I'm already hitting maximum damage. I need you to roll for the poison from this thing's fangs as they snap around your arm. 1d8, please.
That's a 5.
That means you've taken 13 damage in total.
That's all the hit points I have.
If you burn all of your luck, your arm does indeed get chomped off. In fact, Sathasa, the servant person, is surprised by how easily it severs at the elbow. And as it is chomping you down, you can crawl over to one of the paintings. You can knock it off its easel. You could even write down in blood something very, very simple. Miles isn't going to stop you. Bertha is too busy eating your arm. So you could write something on the back of this canvas before it gets replaced. Maciej, you're obviously not going to be able to pen an essay, but I pass it back to you.
Then, being completely stunned by what's happened and what I'm seeing in front of me being something that is absolutely real, and the blood is everywhere. I've seen blood like this before. I'm not shocked by that, but this time it's coming from me. I just try to pull myself over to the painting of the cult of the bloody tongue, and I don't know what I hope to achieve with this other than perhaps if Madeline and Shelby somehow make their way over here, perhaps me pointing out that this was the painting, that will help. I don't know. And I'll just, before I pass out, I suppose I'll just try to write Felix, but I don't probably get very far.
With your stump arm oozing blood, you can indeed take that arterial gush, daub it on your fingertips as if you too were a painter, and you can, for all intents and purposes, sign your name on the canvas you knock to the floor. Hell, you could paint it on the floorboards, you could write your name all over this room, but unless this painting ends up somewhere that your companions see, and maybe, through serendipity, they will see it, you did after all just burn all of your luck to ensure that that happens. They will know that this place is dangerous, that it is a trap, that wherever you are, you fell here. The venom from the serpent person courses into your wound, to your heart. Despite the amount of blood you are losing, it does not abruptly halt your circulatory system, therefore the venom does hit you where it hurts. If the loss of a limb wasn't enough to kill you, the venom ultimately will be. But Felix, your death is not instant. It won't take long, but it isn't instant. The serpent person much prefers having its victims kept alive for as long as possible, and so it will come to a point where it reflects on this and rather resents the speed with which you die, so at least you can hold that as a small victory. You will be taken to the cellar, where you will be preserved as well as possible, and slowly consumed by this creature. But you'll be dead long before that happens. At least you won't have to go through the pain of being eaten alive. Felix Bauer, your adventure ends here.
So it does.
Shelby, Madeline, Jackson, you haven't parted ways yet. You're currently at the station at St. Pancras. You're about to head north to Derbyshire, Shelby. Jackson looks to you, Madeline, and says, "We're only going to be gone a short time. There's just some loose ends we need to chase up, and I'm glad you called me back to the city for this," he says, looking around, looking over his shoulder a little. He's clearly paranoid to be here. Madeline, this thing you're staying to investigate. It should be noted Jackson knows nothing of what occurred at the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. If he did, maybe he would feel more inclined to stay here. The thing you need to know, and I can explain everything to Shelby on the way up, can't I? Shelves. There's been a series of murders here in London, as you know. As Mahoney was looking into for me before I departed. by my count, somewhere around a dozen of them. And the press, the scoop, were referring to them as the Egyptian murders, because every person killed has either been Egyptian or some way connected to Egypt. Now, these murders have been going back years, but I'm pretty confident the same person or group is behind all of them, and that they connect to this damned Carlisle expedition. You see, and he makes sure you're paying attention, Madeline. Are you at all distracted, given recent events, or are you paying close attention? You tell me.
No, I'm absolutely off-center. Typically, I am hyper-focused, dialed in, a sponge, ready to absorb information, perspective, directionality. Right now, I'm absolutely off-center. Jackson and I have been close enough and intimate long enough that he can probably pick up that I am absolutely either hiding something from him or dodging an elephant in the room poorly. My emotions are typically on my sleeve anyway. But no, I am doing my best to stay present and metabolize the information, but it's very obvious just with the floating gaze or the shift in posture or the fiddling of my fingers, I'm just off center.
Maddie, he says. He stopped short of clicking his fingers. He's not quite that rude, even though he too is shaken to be here. But he does raise his voice. Listen, this is important.
No, I'm hearing you. I heard you. The either Egyptian or the Egyptian related. I'm hearing you.
Okay, good. I'm sorry. It's as if we're travelling halfway around the world. We're only going to be up in Derbyshire and we'll be within telegrams reach, I know. We'll even be able to make phone calls to each other. He puts his hand on you gently. I'm sorry. I'm a little off balance back in the capital.
It's okay. We all are. And then I'm going to betray the fact, just like when you're in school where you hear one part of a teacher's lecture where you can feign enough to say I was paying attention, but you really missed everything that came behind it. I'm just going to open face the fact that I am absolutely wasn't paying attention. Oh, how long did you say the murders were happening or where?
Years, as best I can tell, all around London, but mostly concentrated around the Soho area, so the West End.
Okay.
So, it isn't like the police in New York. They have been investigating this. The man responsible for this case, because it's such a significant one, Inspector Barrington of the Yard. You'll want to speak to him. Now, I spoke to him the last time I was in London, and for a while we got on really quite well. My research, before I had to leave the city, pointed toward a group called the Brotherhood of the Black Pharaoh, which I believe has links to the Penhew Foundation. You know, with Edward Gavigan and Aubrey Penhew and the Carlisle expedition. I presented my findings to Barrington. He said he was going to run some tips. And the next time I spoke to him, he was very cold with me. He called me a sensation-seeking profiteer. And it was at that point I realised I had been... I don't think Barrington's with them, but I wonder if he's been threatened. I wonder if someone, I guess, enchanted him, might be a way. I don't know, but I could sense that his mood was off and that I was in danger, and that was one of the reasons I left. So, you might have better luck with him. He isn't like I said, the cops in New York. I think he is a good man. You might be able to get farther with him than I did, but Penhew Foundation, Barrington, Brotherhood of the Black Pharaoh. See if you can track down any Egyptians in the city, whether it's you visit the consulate, an Egyptian shop run by native Egyptians over here, a bar where they might hang out. I don't need to tell you how to investigate a case, but I'm leaving you this just in case we're in Derbyshire a little longer than we expect to be.
Okay. No, I appreciate this. This is helpful. What does your gut say about name dropping you to this Inspector Barrington?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't. I'm wondering, and this is guesswork, based on some of my research as well. Sometimes I think these sorceries have triggers, and I wonder if someone got into his head and said, if you speak to or hear of Jackson Elias, you shut down. You shut the case, more or less. If you come in as someone interested, someone concerned, maybe with something new, if you have something new to provide, maybe even just what happened in New York, it might awaken that investigative fire in him again.
Okay. Safe travels, you two. Please, when you arrive and you plan on heading to your next destination, just telegraph so at least we're all aware of our last point of just follow the system we put in place, please.
Of course.
We will.
I reach to give Madeline a hug.
Oh, come on. Jackson hugs both of you at the same time. There's people who pass you at St. Pancras station giving you quite a queer look. These three individuals hugging each other on the station platform. I wish Felix were here to be involved in this. It feels ridiculous as it sounds. It feels good to share each other's space a while, you know?
I'm sure we'll all get together again.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. Okay, we need to catch this train, Shelby, otherwise we're going to be waiting until tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, good job. Stay safe, Madeline, and we'll stay safe and stay in touch.
Yes.
Contact Rupert. Let us know where we're at.
Of course. Bring me back something nice. But not too touristy, but still like a souvenir. Something specific to that location. Maybe something edible.
You're saying this as they're climbing onto the train, and it does make Jackson laugh. It breaks the tension somewhat, given the mood up until now. So Jackson is laughing as he climbs onto the train. You don't know if that's a guarantee you will get some kind of paraphernalia from the Derbyshire counties, but you never know.
I may get lucky.
And with a whistle, the train leaves the station, leaving you in a cloud of smoke and steam, and to combine it to the mist, Madeline, as you leave the station, the mist has most certainly rolled in off of the river. The Thames brings with it mist at some points of the day, fog at all others, and right now the streets are thick, a pea soup. And Madeline, as you are walking away from the station, you pull the clipping out from your handbag. What the scoop had reported on, and what Jackson has given you a little more information about now. Go ahead and read it, for your sake and that of the listeners.
Yeah, listen, I'll need the refresher too. So, the scoop, slaughter continues, reward offered. An unidentified foreigner was found floating in the Thames last Tuesday the 24th. Another victim in the so-called Egyptian murders? Inspector James Barrington, that's why I recognize that name, of the Yard refused to comment when asked by the scoop. Sources exclusive to this journal state that the victim had been beaten severely and then stabbed through the heart in a manner curiously similar to other murders that have taken place in the last 3 years. The connection seems obvious, but New Scotland Yard has yet to confirm the deaths are connected. Inspector Barrington and his colleagues appear baffled. Okay. And no closer to catching this heinous perpetrator of these crimes. Londoners cry out, when will the streets be safe? Readers of the scoop are reminded that this esteemed journal has a reward, now standing at £24, for information leading to the apprehension and conviction of this murderer. Be vigilant. Okay. I feel refreshed. Puzzle pieces are suddenly snapping into place. I have something to focus on. If I can just stay focused, we'll go that direction. There are so many different places I could go. I could go to a library and I could look for other news articles. I could go directly to Barrington. My track record with law enforcement has been so great recently. I could go back to the scoop. I could try to find, and then it dawns on me, advice that Arturo gave me just before he left New York, that if I were ever in danger, or if I needed the truth of a matter, to basically go to the underground. So that's where I'm going to choose to focus on, Keeper. depending on what you have prepared or what you feel like coming up with on the fly, I'm either going to try to target hangouts that are specific to those from Egypt, or I'm going to try to just trench and see if I can pick up on a thread or lead on rumors, gossip, security, awareness that's like the vein of the underground of London. I haven't been down that direction yet. And let's be honest, it's where I feel most comfortable most days anyways.
There's a very good reason for you to do this, and I'm not going to ask you to roll. As you say, Arturo gave this advice, and it is certainly valid here. There are places where it isn't just Egyptians, naturally. There's entire clubs, bars, and the like, where emigres from North Africa, the Middle East, the Suez region like to hang out. It is perfectly normal for such enclaves to set up in foreign countries, especially in Britain, given that it is at the heart of empire. And while Egypt isn't part of the empire, it is under de facto British rule. It has been since the late 19th century, and for the historians listening, it will be until the middle of the 20th century. So there's a fairly easy channel for Egyptians and people from the countries surrounding Egypt to make their way to England right now and find spaces to hang. Close to the consulate is the natural place, and in fact there is a club nearby. It's only a small bar. It doesn't even have a front door, it has a curtain. It is called the Nile, rather on the nose, and advertises itself in its frosted glass window as a spot for Egyptians, Libyans, and Ethiops.
Okay. That is going to be my first point of contact. I was very tempted just to wait till this evening and go back to the Pink Leopard and see if I could pick up some leads, but I'll use that as a follow-up just in case the Nile Bar comes short.
Absolutely. The Pink Leopard will be a perfectly fine place to check out as well, but it is more cosmopolitan. You may be able to pick up on some news, but this is going to be more direct. When you enter the Nile through the curtain, you are immediately hit in the face with smoke. The fog outside is replaced with the frankly acrid stench of pipe smoke, in that practically everybody here is smoking one. It is a kind of tobacco leaf mixed with various other spices that is smoked largely outside of these British Isles, and if you're not familiar with it, it can really burn the sinuses. So your eyes, you are blinking briefly to acclimate to this area before the lady at the bar, and dressed very liberally, it has to be said, for a young woman from that part of the world, gives you a smile. New here?
I think I'm taken aback for just a very visible moment at the liberal dress, and I smile in something adjacent to admiration and almost adoration simultaneously. I blink as this smoke is certainly going to be, it's going to take weeks to get this out of my hair, out of my clothes, off of my skin. Yes, I am new here. Yes.
Yeah, in that case you get a free drink first time, she says. She pours you something brown in a small glass and slides it across. American, right?
Yes, but, I'll pay double the worth of this drink, because it was free, if you can determine where in America I'm from.
She laughs at that, turns around, pours herself a drink. Clearly this is quite a liberal establishment. Nobody else in this bar is paying you a mote of attention. Considering how narrow and short this bar is, there's about 18 people squeezed into it, and it does feel like a squeeze. Everyone has their own murmured conversation. You can pick up about 3-4 different languages being spoken. Certainly no one's paying any attention to someone speaking in English. She hums and haws, takes a sip. I don't know America in the slightest, so this is going to be like throwing a dart at a map. Let's go for... And she claps her hands together. San Francisco.
Oh, wrong coast. But a noble guest. I'm going to raise my glass to her, and I'm going to also sniff and then realize I can barely smell anything over the smoke, and then I'm going to sip. What is this?
I wish I knew. They actually... no, I'm not even joking. They bring it in through the consulate, and it has quite literally been given the name Egyptian moonshine. Someone tried to give it a fancy name named after one god or another, but Egyptian moonshine is what it is. That's what it sells as. She points at the blackboard behind the bar, and there it is, marked up as Egyptian moonshine. 6 pennies a shot.
Egyptian. How does it taste? Is this palatable? Is it enjoyable at all?
It's remarkably sweet. A lot of alcohol, of course, when it is brewed in a bathtub, has a ton of sugar added to it to take away the burn, shall we say. This is a little like a very sweet tea with an aftertaste that makes it feel like your mouth is on fire. That takes some getting used to as well, but you'll find your eyes clear up. It's like it combats the pipe smoke and makes for a... Look, I'm not making the stuff. You drink as much of it as you like. If you prefer beer or wine, we've got that too.
No, this is fine. And there's this moment as I'm looking down at the glass, and I remember that I don't actually drink. This is not something I enjoy doing. This is not a pastime I enjoy. I rarely drink. And I just remember that the last 72 hours have been a lot on me, and I'm doing what I can to immerse myself, and I just start thinking about Felix, and it's one of those things. I need to come back to the present. I'm here, and thankfully the libation here is at least bringing me back online. Thank you for this. I appreciate it. So, where are you from?
It's a good question. I was born in Egypt, but I came over here when I was about 3 years old. Much to my parents' disappointment, I can barely speak a word of Arabic, of Farsi, of indeed any language from the mother country or the surrounding regions. No, I am about as London as they come. And that's why they put me behind the bar here, because it means I can speak to anyone who comes here, regardless of which their country of origin happens to be.
I nod and I smile. Well, the charisma certainly helps as well.
Well, thank you very much. I'm hoping to earn enough to actually go to university one day. And you realise she must be about 18 or 19 years old, but based on how articulate she is, there's obviously something going on up there.
University? Really? What do you plan to study?
Oh, gosh. Well, I'm a big reader. I'd love to study literature. I'd really like to just get my teeth into the history of English. You know, a lot of the people here, she gestures at the heaving throng of 18 people.
My eyes follow.
They are very tribalish. And what I mean by that is they could have been here for 5, 10, 15 years and they'll still only read books from their home country. They'll only pick up poets like Omar Khayyam or whatever. They will turn their nose up at Shakespeare, at Wordsworth. They will say Byron is for the birds. And I don't know. I completely love it. And I don't know how you turn that into a career, but I think it could be a fun few years. And hey, especially when ladies like you turn up, I actually get a tip once in a while, not something that happens all too often in bars in London.
My nose wrinkles deeply, and I can't help but to just stare at the vibrance and the youth and the optimism of this woman before me. That was me a year ago. Then Peru happened, and then New York happened, and then London happened, and then yesterday happened, and I'm not her anymore, but there's still just that sense of momentary grief where I can just recognize the distance between us due to the circumstances that have occurred around me.
Hey, are you alright?
I
Look, if the drink's too strong, I can get you a water.
No. Actually, yes. A water would be great, please.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
She looks concerned. and yields a water for you. Here you go. Drink it slowly. It looks like that it went to your head.
I don't drink very often, and this is very sweet. It's very palatable. Except for the flame that comes on the back end, but this is actually quite good. Thank you.
To be honest, most people take it with a chaser of water anyway. It was a bit unfair of me to just dump the moonshine on you without a warning. Sorry about that.
So you set me up for failure. Thank you so much.
No, well, yes. But listen, not that's any of my business, she says, holding a couple of fingers up, almost like peace. Give me a foot here. I wonder what brings you in here. You're not a drinker. You're not from... And she gestures at some of the flags hanging behind the bar. So, what's your interest?
Oh, you are quick, aren't you? And I'm going to smile. My name is Madeline. Let's start at least with introductions, and then I'll get into why I've wandered into the Nile. What's your name?
My name is Anat, although most people call me Anna.
What do you prefer?
Anna's fine.
Anna. It's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you. I'm following a lead, and I was hoping by coming here I could get some directionality from either you or perhaps one of the customers here.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you're a journalist?
Adjacent to journalist, and I smile with a blatant, obviously not a journalist. I'm not even going to try to, lean into that. It's obvious no. Adjacent to journalist.
Okay, well, if there's something I can help you with, I'll do my best.
This will be forward, so my upfront apologies if this feels abrasive, but I'm honestly looking into what the newspapers are calling the Egyptian murders.
She scowls at that.
I know. It's a poorly framed title.
I guess it doesn't bear saying that there's a lot of people who drink here, who used to drink here, who just don't go out anymore. You'd think it was... Well, because they're called the Egyptian murders, I think considerably fewer people care about them than if they were, let's say, I don't know, the Soho slasher or something like that. Jack the Ripper kills, what is it supposed to be, 4 or 5 women in the East End? Admittedly, 30 years ago now, but a little before my time, she says. But according to the some of the people who come in here, the Egyptian murders, as they're called, 19 people. The newspapers are only reporting on, I think, 12 or 13 of them. But there's still 12 or 13. There should be, a crisis. But that's how it is.
19 people, and how many years? The records that I have date back to 3. Has it been longer, or does that feel accurate?
I guess that's accurate. I mean, who knows? Bodies have been dumped in the Thames. There could have been more than 19. Some of them have probably just been washed out to sea, or they're still lurking down there. If you get the wrong part of the Thames, it's as thick as mud on a summer day. The right part, you sink down and never seen again. But people started really talking about it. I remember my parents started talking about 3 years ago. That was before I worked here. I only started up here about 8 or 9 months ago. 9 months ago now.
They've stopped talking about it. The papers aren't reporting on it. What's the last death that you're aware of?
Oh, it was there was a man found in... At which point she calls over to one of the patrons. And despite her protestations earlier, it turns out she does speak quite good Arabic, because he stops what he's doing. He turns around with a scowl of his own. This small man with a bushy mustache. They banter back and forth a little while. He yells at her briefly. Her eyebrows shoot up. She yells back at him, pointing at him. He backs away, hands up, as in, whoa, whoa, I didn't mean that. She wags her finger, tells him off. He then answers her quite quietly and returns to his conversation. She responds to you in English. Sorry about that. It was about 3 weeks ago. There was a man found in the Soho area. I don't think it was reported in the paper because the word on the street was that he'd fallen into the road while drunk and broken his skull open. It just so happened that he was another one of these Egyptians. But his family was told something different. There was a nail driven into his head, or something as close as damn it. A hole in the centre of his forehead, thereabouts, like someone had just driven... And she makes a gesture. Something long and sharp, right through the bone and into his brain. I don't think you can just fall into the road and land on a rock like that. That was a man called, I think it was Gamel. I can't remember his surname. She calls out again, and there is another heated exchange. Gamel Amun.
Gamal Amun. 3 weeks ago, that's so recent, and I can't imagine what that man went through before he died. But I know this is forward. I also know that certain communities don't get the questioning and the attention that they deserve.
She gestures with a I know, right?
And I nod, because I also embody that experience. So I'm here now asking questions. I ask a lot of questions. Where can I follow up on this Gamo Amun? Place of employment, family, resident, and just quick question for you, Keeper. I have a 16 in Arabic, which is not great, but it might be enough to pick up a word or two. Am I catching anything in the exchange as these individuals are rapid firing back and forth to each other?
Yeah, I don't expect you to roll for this. Actually, let's roll just to see how much you pick up. Even a failure isn't going to cancel you out here, because linguistics are linguistics, but critical failure might not help.
Oh, okay, I rolled a 100 then.
To let you know what the critical failure will be here, with all transparency. If you accept a critical failure here, rather than, let's say, spending the 5 luck to make it a straight failure, which not many people do. Not many people spend the luck to turn a crit failure into a regular failure, but it might be worth it.
It might be.
You will get very much the wrong impression of Anna here, and will probably not trust anything she says. I mean, it's up to you how far you go with that, but you will certainly get the impression that she doesn't like you as much as you're feeling right now.
Oh, no. The one NPC that I've encountered that I actually like, I'll burn the 5 luck on it.
You pick up through the exchange bits and pieces. It isn't terribly clear. What is obvious is, while Anna isn't a terribly confident speaker, she's a lot more competent than you are in Arabic. And the general vibe is this man she's addressing is really reluctant to talk about these Egyptian murders and is frankly offended that she is. And she is then hotly reminding him of whose bar this is. You doubt it's hers, but clearly she represents the people who own it, at which point he backs away and gives up the information. But yeah, you're not picking up anything more meaningful than that because you didn't succeed.
Okay, no worries. What can you get me on Gamo Amun?
Oh boy, well, he wasn't a drinker here. Older guy. I think my sister said that. Yeah. So, and she leans forward. I've got my whole family here. My mum, my dad, my sister, my brother. My sister works a bar as well. She's over at the Blue Pyramid. She's a dancer. You know, like a belly dancer.
Mm-hmm.
And she said to me, I guess, shortly after Amun was found, she started the conversation with, well, there goes another one. And I asked her what she meant. And she said, another one of my patrons. There's another guy who came to see me dance who's wound up dead. And I said, how many is that now? And she said 4. And I said, 4 people who come to see you dance have ended up dead? Shouldn't you go to the police about that? At which point she was... that was it. That was the conversation over. And I know not to pursue these things with Yalisha. She is a locked chest when she wants to be. But yeah. I mean, I don't know anything about Amun's family or where he worked. All I remember was what I was told. Just an older guy used to go to the Blue Pyramid to watch the dancing. Blue Pyramid's a members-only club, she says, for clarification. Egyptian emigres mostly. But not entirely, but pretty much.
Anna, this is a big ask, and I don't want to start this relationship off with you in a bed of lies. The inquiries that I'm posing are dangerous. And if someone finds out, if the wrong people find out that I'm asking these questions, that I've taken an interest, this may go quiet again. I think that's part of the reason why there's so much silence on this investigation already. I suspect whomever is doing this, whomever is targeting your people, have at least the right amount of intimidation or monetary leverage on likely members of the local law enforcement or the community or the papers not to investigate this further. What I'm trying to say in short is me asking you these questions is putting you in danger. And I want you to know that on the front end, as I also now ask you if there's any chance you, your sister, and I could get together for a quick debriefing.
She wraps her fingers on the bar, bites her lip. Can I ask you to make either a charm or persuade roll? I'll give you plus 20 to your skill here because you've been very courteous with Anna, where some people would come in demanding or intimidating.
Yeah, coming at it, and for what it's worth from the keeper standpoint, every part of Hopper is completely sincere in the, I am recognizing I'm putting you in danger and I'm still asking anyways. So I'm going to go with the persuade to try to bring her over. And my persuade is at a 50. With the additional generous 20 from you is a 70. I rolled a 75. I could burn another 5 and make this a regular success, or at a 70. You know what? Nah, to hell with it. I'm going to push it. A hard success. Thank the Lord.
She nods. Yeah, I can... Oh, sure. I mean, sure. I tell you what, are you doing anything tonight?
And I think... No, I'm not. At least not that I'm aware of. What do you have in mind?
Dress up, meet me outside the Blue Pyramid. I'll get you in there, because I've got I guess you could call it a family and friends membership. And between one of Yalisha's sets, we'll speak to her then. I'll make the introduction so she isn't scared off by you or anything. And yeah. That's probably the best way to do it.
Thank you. Anna, thank you. Genuinely thank you. I'll be there. I'm going to look over her size really fast. From a physical to physical, if I'm sitting on a 55, does she and I look like we're comparable body types?
I'd say so, yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, did I actually bring something nice all the way to London with me? I probably don't have a whole lot of, hey, let's dress up nice items.
Well, you've still got some of that Jackson Elias money.
I do have Jackson Elias money. I can go get something new. I'll be there.
Might be time for a outfit montage.
An outfit montage, and let's be honest, some retail therapy will probably be in order right now, too. I'll be there. Thank you.
You are told that the Blue Pyramid opens up at 6 p.m, so she'll meet you at 8. It never pays to turn up right on opening time. And that is your date. Felix, to your great surprise, you find yourself waking, your eyes opening, a feeling of alertness, and immediately you go to reach over to your dismembered arm and it is there. Not only is it there, but you are in clothes you haven't worn for close to 5 years. Army greys. You are dressed as you were when you were on the front, when you were being driven back to Germany. You're not surrounded by the mud and the blood and the grime and the guts of the trenches. You are on the side of a road. You can hear the sounds of gunfire and shells exploding in one direction, but in another you know is the way home. And sat beside you, rifling through a deck of cards, is a man you recognize. Your brother. I was wondering when you were going to get here.
Siegfried. And I move over to hug him.
Ah, there will be plenty of time for that.
Where are we going?
I do not know, but I wanted to wait for you before I went there. We do not make this journey alone, Felix, and I knew that when the time came we should make that final march together.
Well, I'm so happy that you waited, Siegfried. I didn't tell you enough how much I love you, because I realized that when you were gone, by how much I missed you. And this isn't how I wanted us to meet again, but that we meet again is at least something, isn't it?
You know, I've been sat on the side of this road for a while, and occasionally a soldier passes by, one way or the other. Almost everyone who stops and speaks says what you just did, that they did not say I love you to someone, some people. And he looks you in the eyes, and his eyes are grey, almost pale to the point of white, but there's still a reassurance there. But I love you. And I always knew that you loved me. We're brothers, and we end our story together.
I think that's very fitting. What do you think waits for us over there?
He stands up, brushing his trousers off, and offers his hand for you to get up as well.
I'll take it.
Well, it seems we have two choices. We head back to the fight, or to the unknown in the other direction.
I think I've had enough fighting, Siegfried.
Yeah, I agree. Come on, let's find out together.
Yes. Let's.
He puts his arm around you. He gives you a rather sudden, unheralded, very uncommon for him, kiss on the cheek. Doesn't remark upon it. And then the two of you start walking toward a grey sky. And that is where Felix's story will end. And that is our session.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play Masks of Nyarlathotep for Chaosium's Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. Joining us as our keeper is none other than our dear friend Matthew Dawkins, and we were also joined by Bridgett, Jeffries, and Eddy Webb. The music was made by Aegersonus and Halgrath, and we've also used Cryochamber's Lovecraftian compilation albums. All of this with the permission of Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody dark ambient for your gaming table. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon: Martin Heuschober, Simon Cooper, Julia, Camilla, Bob Lange, Cameron, Graham Barey, Doug Thomson, Lily, Maciej, Black Templar, Dennis Sadecki, and Leonhardt for their generous support. You would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, this show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult of Indy Lost, Call of Cthulhu, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and Warhammer 40k Imperium Maledictum there. And you can also get early and raw access to all of our recordings, and hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as even play some Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and remember, I am the last. I will tell the audient void.